There is a saying among pilots that if an airplane looks good, it flies well. And I claim this to be true about the Dornier 328 at least. The controls are very well harmonized. It's always a problem if you have an airplane which has very light control forces, say in pitch, but heavy in aileron, or vice versa. And this speaks for the good flying qualities of this aircraft, and it's been praised by all the pilots we've had on board.
The success of the Dornier 328 and the new generation of turboprop airliners reflects the progress of the developments made in engine technology and in the aerodynamics of propellers since the Second World War. In the early 50s, the fastest airliner was the Lockheed Constellation, powered by 4 huge right radial piston engines. Top speed was 355 miles an hour. On short routes, the Douglas DC-3, the wartime workhorse, was brought back into airline service. But even luxury accommodation didn't satisfy passengers who wanted faster travel. Top speed was only 215 miles an hour. In 1952, the Dutch Fokker company developed a radical new design, the world's first twin turboprop airliner, with 2 Rolls-Royce turbines driving conventional propellers. The F-27 could take off with one engine shut down and was almost 100 miles an hour faster than the old DC-3. Today's generation of turboprop engines is lighter, quieter, and far more fuel efficient than those early designs. The Dornier's Canadian-built Pratt & Whitney turbines deliver 2,180 shaft horsepower each. They're linked to 6-bladed American Hartzell propellers. Each blade can be turned to alter the pitch, the angle at which it cuts through the air.
The engine controls for the turboprop engine are more complicated than for a jet aircraft. In a jet aircraft, I only have 2 levers that control the power of the engine. This engine and this aircraft, I have 2 levers, which are the power levers. They control the power of the gas turbine, the jet engine, if you will. The other 2 levers are controlling the propeller, and they're controlling the RPM of the propeller.
Today's propellers are designed on computers and made not from metal or wood, but from threads of carbon fiber, carefully woven onto a composite base. This construction system not only saves weight, but produces a propeller blade which will withstand huge stresses and retain its correct aerodynamic shape, irrespective of the load on it. After connecting the blades to the hub, the variable pitch control mechanism is tested, the system which changes the angle at which the blades will bite the air on each complete revolution of the propeller.
It's important that you're able to control the propeller pitch because it would be impossible with a fixed pitch propeller to cope with the enormous power differences that you have in a large turboprop engine. Also, the variable pitch of the propeller means that I can fly at a constant RPM through different power settings, making it much more quiet.
Once, propeller-driven aircraft couldn't have attempted to reach heights above 25,000 feet. Now the Dornier 328 can cruise comfortably at 31,000 feet. This 328 is cruising above the Cascade Mountain Range in the northwest of the USA.
Another feature of this aircraft is that it's certified to a higher service ceiling. We can go up to 31,000 feet, and because of our relatively high power, we can get to 31,000 feet comfortably, which means that we're able to utilize the airspace between 25,000 feet and 31,000 feet, which is very scarcely populated. Most turboprops are below 25,000 feet. Most jet aircraft are above 31,000 feet.
Propeller-driven aeroplanes can do things that jets can't. One thing they can do is that they can fly very, very short routes terribly cheaply. The turbine-driven propeller still is the most efficient engine, the most efficient aero engine in the world. It's more efficient. It burns less fuel for a given amount of power produced than a jet engine does.
Claude Dornier always wanted to build aircraft that could do things others couldn't. After the war, banned from building aircraft in Germany, he set up an office in Spain to develop a new kind of plane, one which could operate from very short runways and grass strips, the DO 25. It was the beginning of a whole new family of Dornier aircraft. Short takeoff and landing was a concept already being vigorously pursued by other aircraft manufacturers too. In Canada, the de Havilland Buffalo showed it could land almost anywhere, even in a baseball stadium, set down on the diamond and take off again. Not to be outdone, Dornier waited for a gap in the traffic and then got its STOL Sky Servant to take off from a bend in the road. Other Dorniers, like the 228, found a market in the hot and humid conditions of the Caribbean islands. Air Guadeloupe uses 228s to link remote towns and villages which have only rudimentary airstrips. A number of third world countries also depend on the 228's short takeoff and landing performance for everything from delivering goods to market to taking patients to hospital. Many of the 228's STOL characteristics were designed into its bigger brother, the 328.
Turboprop aircraft are typically built for relatively short runways, meaning that they're capable of flying at much slower speeds than jet traffic, so that the initial climb off the ground can be relatively steep, and normally they have what we call good stall characteristics, stalls being short takeoff and landing, high flap settings, meaning that they are able to make slow and steep approaches to airports like the London City Airport.
To help make those short landings in all weathers, the 328 is also available with a piece of hardware from military aviation, a head-up guidance system. In this 328, all the instrument readings are projected onto a visor as a hologram in front of the captain. He never needs to take his eyes off the runway. Back on board our 328, Captain Vorning is about to make his approach to land at Cardiff Airport.
We are 2,000 feet above the ground on the radar altimeter, which is the same as the barometric. This is because we are over the water here on the approach to Cardiff. 180 knots, and we have just run the first notch of flaps. And we'll extend the gear now, please.
Gears coming.
And as we can see, we have a little bit of crosswind from the left. That shouldn't be any problem. And the flaps to 20, please, and the final checks.
Coming. Okay. Final checks, gears down, 3 greens, flaps 20, auto feather coming on.
Yeah.
IGAS display is set, parking brake is off, autopilot, the order is next, condition levels max.
Okay. So, and we can see now this little blue line is the minimum. If I was in the clouds, I would have to have ground contact before I reach this altitude. Not a problem on this beautiful sunny day. We could have landed with flaps 32 if it had been a really short runway, but Cardiff having a long, nice runway of almost 8,000 feet, we're only going with flaps to 20.
Confirm, Dornier 02 is clear to land very soon.
300, roger, continue approach. Aircraft located.
Yeah, in fact.
And we're getting a very late clearance to land because there's still somebody on the runway, but we can see him leaving the runway now. I'm going to disconnect the autopilot now.
Dornier 02 is clear to land 30.
And we're coming down to 150 feet red out. Stand by for condition levels.
No?
No, not yet. Okay. Okay, 50 feet. The power is coming back to idle. Condition levels, max please.
Coming to max.
And a little bit of cross controls for the crosswind here. Setting it down nicely. We have arrived. Nose gear coming down. Power levels
Better
coming
lights.
back. And now we're going into full reverse. The airplane stops very nicely without using any brakes. Okay, we're cancelling reverse. The condition levels to min, please.
Come in. Gas locks.
Yes, please. Gust locks are coming on to lock the controls so they don't flap about in the wind. And we're going to clear the runway down here on this taxiway.
Only one engine is needed to taxi to the apron. The new generation of regional airliners like the Dornier 328 can provide faster and more economical transport than ever before, thanks to that device which first made powered flight possible.
Okay, stop it here. That's good.
Still at the cutting edge of aviation technology, the propeller.
Following shortly, Secret Weapons examines the development and exploitation of the jet engine for war.